What's up, pod pals? Welcome to Podcast Launch Tips. We're doing a podcast launch strategy session here today with my friend Samantha, one of my favorite new pod pals. We're going to be talking about some podcast launch strategy. If you've been wondering how to launch a podcast, how to start a podcast, how to get your mind wrapped around that initial launch phase of podcasting, you're in the right place. Samantha, how's it going today?
It is fabulous.
All right. So you have one show. And now we're talking about launching a second show, which is a whole different ball game. And many people get the podcasting bug and they're like, all right, show number 2, here we go. Let's do this. So with your second show, give us an idea of like who you're trying to serve with the show right now.
Well, the podcast is called The Scandalous Christian Woman. The point of the podcast is that many of the women that I've talked to, we are tired of being put in a box of this is how you behave, this is how you think. And unless you do all these things, you're not a good Christian woman. And we're saying, I don't think so. We're done. And so it is time to be the women God made us to be. And that includes scandalizing the world, making them think, what is wrong with you? Why are you acting this way? And maybe a few Christians along the way, teaching them that you don't have to be what everybody says you have to be.
Okay. All right. So we've chatted about this a little bit prior to recording this. And I think I love shows that are very specific with who they're trying to serve. So I think you nailed it with this show concept. And I think that like your ideal listener will hear that title and they'll be like, yeah, that's for me. Or I'm curious about this. It's going to bring the right type of person in. So I think that was an excellent job. So usually we have some reservations or like a mental sticking point anytime that we haven't launched a show yet. So what would that be for this show for you?
Well, my other show is not about me at all. So that was easy. It's easy for me to promote other people and to support other people in what they're doing. But this podcast is different. This is, as we had talked, and Adam and I said a little bit, it was supposed to be like 30 minutes, and we ended up talking for 2 hours. It was fabulous. This is going to be, there's 3 different types of episodes. 2 of them are just me talking, because I had a lot of people saying, why aren't you talking more on your current podcast? And I'm like, but it's not about me. So there's 2 teaching episodes. They're going to be short because they're like me. I don't have time. And when I say I don't have time, I don't have time. I was talking to a friend of mine today and she said, so what podcast do you listen to? And I'm like, I mentioned yours. And then I mentioned another one and she's like, that's all you listen to? And I'm like, I seriously don't have time. So these episodes are going to be 15, 20 minutes. Listen to it. Go. The next episode is co-hosting. And I've talked to other people about this. So like, oh, so I get to take over your show. And it's like, no, this is a conversation.
Yeah.
This is not an interview. This is a conversation. And so I've had a lot of people respond to that. The third type is where I'm struggling a little bit. I'm a John Maxwell certified coach, speaker, trainer. I love coaching. I love helping women. I love that aha moment. And so when I tell people, oh, I'm going to record this and I'm going to put it on my podcast, they're immediately like, no, I don't want to talk to you at all.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about this, how it would be important for me as a coach to be able to show people what I'm doing, but I'm not getting the responses. So all the other episodes that I've got ready, they're all written out. They're all scripted, ready to go. I'm sitting here and not doing anything because I'm not getting that third spot filled. And so do I launch without it? Do I sit on it? I mean, I know you're going to tell me not to sit on it. I know you will enough. You're going to say, no, go. And
don't launch. Don't let you.
But
I hear where you're at.
There.
Yeah. So it may be a situation where you need to develop a little bit of know, like, and trust factor with your audience, like the listenership, just by the first 2 types of episodes, where it's like, all right, let's show what I can do in the solo episodes. Let's do the co-hosting episodes to, have, someone else tagging in and they get to feel the vibe a little bit. And then you start to talk about, you sort of kind of drip it in there. I want to start bringing some of you guys out of the audience in and talking about and kind of sharing your story, answering your questions specifically, coaching you up a little bit. And then you kind of put the all points bulletin out there, like, hey, use this link, start getting signed up. That's one route that you could take. The other route is you could start, like, there's safety in numbers, people, if they're not the only person. So maybe you try to get 3 people or 3 to 5 people, like a small group discussion where you're still able to show off your coaching ability. I wouldn't go probably bigger than 5. I think 3, 4, 5, that'll be pretty good. But that way you can still show off, and they're not like spotlighted. They don't feel like deer in the headlights, and they don't have to use like real names or anything like that. Like if they don't want to, or they can just use first name only. You don't have to do video stuff. So those would be the 2 approaches, and maybe you kind of mesh them together and you just get your initial episodes. You get, 10 weeks of content out there, or the first quarter of content. And then you go, all right, now we're going to start doing these small group format shows. If you guys would like to come on and have a discussion, do a little small group Q&A. It's almost like what I do with Pod Pals, but smaller. It's a mix between the podcast audit and the Pod Pals. It's more individualized coaching, but it's in that small group. So there's that safety in numbers, and like the space you're in, it's not like a business show where people want to market themselves and like, yeah, of course I want to come on. I want everybody to know my name. I want everybody to know my website and all my social media handles. When you're talking about like personal development, mindset stuff, anything where people could potentially be embarrassed or ashamed because of something that they're doing or feeling, that's a little bit different. So in that instance, it's probably like a first name only, maybe no video type of a thing. I don't know. Or another idea would be, let's get some of your current coaching clients, or you could kind of spotlight them in a one-on-one because they already know, like, and trust you. Like that would be a way to show, hey, this is a safe space. This is the value that you're getting. And so that would be another way to kind of ease it in. Maybe but I wouldn't get hung up on it's solo, then co-host, then coaching, and having that rhythm right away. Because as you've seen the coaching thing, we got to figure out that riddle a little bit and how to get them in and get them on the show. So, so I would just, if you can find some clients or friends that would be willing to come on and do one-on-one, then I would do that. But the more you have examples on your show and people listen to it and go, oh, this is cool. This is like, she treats them fairly and well. It's not like a big embarrassing, interrogation spotlight. Like, why are you so scandalous? Like that's not what it's going to be. But that way you kind of prove it to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I've seen it work. I mean, one of my clients contacted me yesterday, and she's a costume designer, firefighter costume designer. And she was contacted by Chicago Fire TV to make a costume for their show for next month.
That's awesome.
And so it's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Works. Yeah. It's just, and we've talked about that because I do deal more with emotional, personal things, but even business is taken personal in many, many cases as well.
Yeah.
Because it's our thing. And when somebody's picking at it, we kind of feel like they're picking at us.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. Like, I think, man, I'm excited for you for this show because I think it'd be a really smart move to almost treat it like a personal journal. Like the more you open up on the show about your own stuff, the more your listeners will be willing to come on and share their stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like but you're going to have to kind of prove to them first and make that first step of you, like, just being like, this is what it is. This is why I am the way that I am. Here are things that I'm struggling with. Here's the things that I'm getting my head about. The more you do that, the more they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to match her energy. Like, she's already, sharing everything with me. So of course I can reciprocate. So I would just keep that in mind.
Well, it's funny you say that. There's a lot of people I talk to who are like, no, you shouldn't do that. You should do it. Nobody wants to hear about your problems. Nobody cares. And I've found that when you tell people, it's like, okay, like I've told you, I have 7 children. I homeschool. You and I talked before about you had homeschooled your kids. Like, I totally get it. Totally get the whole homeschooling thing. I have 7 children. 2 of them are adults, all the way down to age 4. I have a wide variety. Yeah. I kind of blend in with everybody in what I'm doing. And my stories are not about pity me, but it's like, look, I've been there. I've done that. I have the whole wardrobe at times.
You're relatable. Like, that's
and
the key.
It's real.
Yep.
It's real. And I've been there, and I can help you get out of it too.
Yep.
And so the coaching aspect has kind of just been leaning back on it because of leaning back on the podcast because of that. I do actually have 2 of those first 3 episodes recorded. They're just kind of sitting there, waiting on the editing table, not wanting to move because I didn't have that 4th piece. So if I don't have that 4th piece yet, actually, technically I have 3 of them recorded. So that would get me through the first 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I guarantee if you sat down for 10 to 15 minutes after we're done and you're like, I'm just going to make a list of current clients, former clients, friends, and colleagues in the space that would be willing to come on and open up and do a one-on-one coaching session style episode with me. I bet you find 10 people easy. And then it's like, all right, we're good. That way you can put one of those in your first 4 episodes and kind of have that well-rounded. And then you've got kind of the stockpile of ones that you can pull in. I think that's all it'll take. And then your listeners hear it, and then you put a good call to action on those episodes. I would record a separate intro and outro so that people know, like, all right, this is what this is. This is how you can do one of these if you're into it, and just be very specific. And I think it'll start to fill itself.
Okay. Because I already have my freebie. I already have a freebie created of, it's called 5 Ways to be a Scandalous Christian Woman.
Boom. Good.
But should I use that as my call to action, or should I use my call to action to be, you could be the next person to get a free coaching call like this?
So with the coaching style episode, I would have the only call to action be, here's how you can do one of these. And that'll be a really good lead magnet for you. In your first like 5 to 10 episodes outside of those, my only call to action would be subscribe and follow. Just get plugged in. Just get in. And then, a couple months down the road, then we start going like that 5 ways that downloadable or whatever. Then I would make that the regular one. But and then initially it's just like, just hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, just get into the world, and you're gonna be, everything. Once they're in your world, then we can market to them, basically. Okay. So like maybe the first 4 episodes, first 5 episodes. Now what are you releasing, one a month? Is that what you said, or every other week, or what's the?
I plan on releasing every week.
Every week, okay.
I'm gonna have both podcasts going every week.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I would say month 1 and month 2, just do the subscribe and follow. And then once you get into like episode 9, 10 zone, start dripping a few other lead magnets in there. But that way it's very simple. I feel like a lot of us want to start really spraying the lead magnets out there early out of fear of missing out. But if they're subscribed and they listen to 8 to 10 episodes, they're much more likely to engage in that lead magnet. I think if they've listened to 1 or 2, they probably aren't. So just something to think about. It's your show. Now, okay, let's talk about launch date, because we've been procrastinating a little bit.
I did not with my first one though.
That's
I had it out in less than a month.
Yeah, and now you can do that, and you've got most of the content ready to go. So what do you think? Like, we're doing this interview on October 12th. Like, what do you think is a realistic, safe, but also like going to hold your feet to the fire? This show is live date.
Okay. So my other podcast episodes get edited on Tuesday nights and they go live on Wednesday mornings. I'm talking like 1 o'clock in the morning. So these will probably go live. They would probably go live on Friday, but Fridays are hard days, aren't they?
So your episode goes live on Wednesday morning?
That's the Women Who Changed the World goes live Wednesday morning. I start talking about it Wednesday morning.
And that's when you start doing promo. I would either do Monday or Friday. That way you've got a day in between. So,
well, they're being promoted separately. they have like Women Who Changed the World. That podcast has its own Instagram account.
Yeah.
That would be promoted there. And then this would be promoted on my main Instagram account.
Yeah.
And what I'm
I mean, I just wouldn't do it the same day. Anything other than the same day, just that way with your own promotion focus, so you're not, going two different directions in one day. But yeah, I would, I'll put maybe I think any day other than Wednesday is okay.
More like Monday.
I would probably do Monday if you gave me the choice. I would do Monday. That way there's just a day in between. Like, so with my shows, Podcasting Business School is Tuesday and Friday. Podcast Launch Tips is Monday. Low Carb Hustle is Wednesday. So like I don't launch any on the same day. That's my main rule, is like no two in one day, just so I can have my brain going in one direction. I can do my marketing and I'm good. So I know at least it gets that 24 hours of just it. Yeah, I would do Monday. That's a great release day. And that way you get the whole rest of the week to hope that it finds the right person and delivers the message. So, So, okay, back to the date of livedom. What do you think?
25th
of October. So we're talking like 2 weeks. All right, cool. So, and you know how to do everything already with like getting it into Apple and all that stuff. So yeah, I would just
got things set up.
Yeah. Just start kind of circling the wagons, get your promotion posse put together of, people that are going to help promote. And I'm obviously one of those people. So when it's live, I'll get out there and start sharing it up and doing what I can do to help spread the word. But yeah, I would just get that, 4th episode ready to rock. And then we get the promotion team together, submit to Apple. This time of year, Apple starts to slow down a little bit. So I would do that sooner than later, just because it could take 2 weeks. The deeper we get into this month, November holiday season, it really starts to clog up, and then they take parts of December off. Like I think Christmas week, you can't even submit a show. So,
Apple's not been a big thing for me. Yeah, Apple's not been. Most people have been listening to me on Spotify.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it's to do with the fact that that's what I use. I listen to music on Spotify, so I listen to my podcasts on Spotify. It's one less app on my phone.
Yeah.
And I am like you. I'm an old phone person. I have an LG. I don't even have an Apple.
Nice.
So I want to talk about something else real quick.
Yes.
It's easier for me to use my growth scorecard for my current podcast.
Yep.
And so it'd be better if you explain the growth scorecard than me, because I won't explain it as well as you can. But I would like to know where I should focus with my new podcast.
Okay.
And what I should, what kind of score, because what I also have, all the other stuff I've got going on. What kind of score should I be going for?
Okay. So podcast growth scorecard, for those listening, that's something I talk about a little bit more in Podcasting Business School, because that's for people that have already launched. Once you launch, one of the biggest mistakes is people just try with their marketing and they don't get organized with their marketing. And that helps people get organized and see what's actually working. And it kind of gamifies, and you come up with a daily and weekly score for your podcast marketing efforts. I've created scores where different activities are weighted differently. For example, going live on Instagram will score you 3 points. Being interviewed on someone else's podcast is 5 points. Putting up a static image post on Facebook is 1 point. So it's weighted as to what'll get you more attention, more followers, and be more effective. So with your first week, with your first month of the new show, I would just kind of do what makes sense organically and just look at the end of the day and go like basic things. Obviously, some sort of static post. If you could get some sort of audiogram or video highlight clip, I think that's going to be great. An Instagram live each week where you mention it a little bit, that would be awesome. That'd be kind of part of my wish list. So if you can have a few of those things going, and then if you maybe you join a Clubhouse conversation where that topic is being discussed. I mean, there are tons. If you just go on Clubhouse and search Christian women, you're going to have just an infinite amount of options. So I think the brilliant thing you did with your show title is, it's an eye catcher. Like people's ears are going to perk up when they hear that, especially if you're like in a clubhouse club and it's a Christian women's club and you're adding to the conversation and like, oh, by the way, I'm the host of the Scandalous Christian Woman podcast. I just did an episode on this. It's episode 54. Go check it out. I think if you enjoy this conversation, you'll like that. Like that little call to action, their ears are going to perk up and be like, okay, that wasn't what I expected to hear from this lady that just dropped all this knowledge. So it's perfect. It's perfect for that sort of a situation. So those are the things that I would be looking at. And you just go through your week and go, all right, here's what I scored. The next week I would look to, you can set whatever benchmark you want. Like I'm going to do 10 more points. I'm going to do 5 more points. Or my goal for anybody is to get you above the 40 point per week mark to see growth. That's a good little benchmark per week. And then once you start to see the download numbers go up, you can start to correlate and go, oh, this week I had the best download results and I did a lot of points in clubhouse rooms or a lot of points for live streaming or whatever. And I start to draw those connections and go, all right, I'm going to double down on that this next week and see if it goes up again. And usually it does. Like you could start to kind of read the tea leaves a little bit and go, wow, I did a ton of video posting this week and I really had great downloads this week. Let's do even more, or let's do video on more platforms. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a really, you can see what content is connecting with your audience that converts. So that's what I'd be looking at. But that 40 point per week on the scorecard is a good baseline to shoot for. And then from there, it's just one point better every week and every month, and try to set a new personal best score each month. So that's what I'd recommend.
The other thing I know you talk about is numbering your episodes. I thought I was numbering them, but Libsyn's numbering them. That numbering doesn't count for what you're talking about, does it?
I would number them in the episode title. So when you enter it, and because you can do like, there's like an Apple Podcast numbering episode number section. But I like it in the title. And Apple Podcast put out this thing saying, like, if you number your episodes, shame, the algorithm will banish you or whatever. And it hasn't impacted me at all. Like it's what Apple's trying to do is go, okay, if you go in Libsyn or wherever you host and the episode load up section, there's an Apple episode number. Just do it there. Don't do it anywhere else. Because that's going to kind of mess you over on other platforms. Nobody will be able to find your episodes on Spotify or, Overcast or whatever. So I think that was a little greedy on their part. And I just want that as a reference point. That's an asset. And you get out there and you speak on rooms and stages and other people's platforms. That like, I want my episodes, if I have an episode exactly what we're talking about in this discussion, I want to be able to number drop that episode so people can find it in 5 seconds or less. Not go, let me scroll through and then I'm gonna get frustrated and just like forget about it.
That makes sense.
I listen to some big time podcasters that don't number their episodes. Like, go back to the episode with so-and-so famous person, and I'll scroll through and I'm like, I can't find this dang episode. So I'm out. And I feel like it's really simple, and not enough people are just like, yeah, it's just, and I like the 3-digit episode number, because my goal is any show I launch, I want to do at least 100 episodes. So that's just a weekly reminder. The 3rd digit, it's like 001, 095. I'm like, I got to get it so all are filled out and get it to 100 episodes. So that's a constant reminder. But yeah, I think number them up and get your podcast launch posse ready to go. And I think you're going to have one heck of a great show going, and I'll be there to support it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, let's shout you out real quick while you're here. Like, how do people get into your world? What's your website? Where can people subscribe to the other show that you've got going?
Well, my website's not up yet. We're still working on it, but you can follow me on Instagram, Samantha A. Hatcher, all lowercase. And then there's also Women Who Change the World _podcast. Message me in any of those places. The best way to reach me email wise is the selfcaremamaclub@gmail.com. That's where my group membership is, where we just teach moms how to take care of themselves, especially in the middle of all the crazy.
Yeah.
So that's me in a nutshell, all over the place, doing all kinds of things.
Yep. And Samantha's a great podcaster. She's got a great coaching program. So dive into a world, dip your toe in the water and see what happens. All right, Samantha, I appreciate you. I'm very excited for your second show launch here. It's going to be amazing. And if any of you out there listening in want to do one of these sessions, you need to hit me up on Instagram and let me know. All right. At Podcasting Business School. And we'll get you plugged in for a podcast launch strategy session. With that, I will send you all out into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.